Section 7.3, as you saw in the lecture videos, we are now estimating P in the binomial distribution. So let's take a look at an example from this section. I'm going to look at number 15 on page 397. So you may want to read along because it's a little not as clear here. A random sample of 5,792 physicians in Colorado showed that 3,139 provided at least some charity care. These data are based on information from state healthcare data. So this one says, let P represent the proportion of all Colorado physicians who provide some charity care. Find a point estimate P. So in part A, to find the point estimate, we call that P hat. And if you remember from the formula in this section, we take our the x value, the number, or in this book actually calls it an R. Sometimes they call this an x, and divide it by our sample size. So we want the actual number divided by the sample size. So the number that provide at least some charity is 3,139. And we divide that by our sample size of 5,792. So 3,139 divided by 5,792, 0.5420. Now be sure on WebAssign to make sure you're rounding to the appropriate number of decimal places. All right, now in part B, it asks us to find a 99% confidence interval for P and give a brief explanation. So our confidence is going to be 0.99. We already know that our R, or the calculator is actually going to call it X as well, is 3139, and our N is 5782. So the way we do this one's on the calculator. We're going to go the same way we did before. We're going to do stat, tests. Okay, in 7.1 we went to Z interval. In 7.2 we used the T interval when we did not know sigma or the sample size was larger than 30. And here we have some two sample things. Now we're going to go there in section 7.4. But if you see letter A, it's one prop Z interval. That means a one proportion Z interval. So we're going to go to one prop Z interval, and it's going to ask us for our X value, the N value, and our confidence level. So remember the book called this one R, but we know our X is 3139, and our sample size is 5,792. The sample size has to be larger than X, and the calculator will error if you put it in incorrectly. So let's put our X 3139. Our N 5792, confidence level 0.99, and calculator. So there we have. Now remember, now we're estimating P instead of mu. In the first two sections we were estimating the population mean. Now we're estimating the population proportion. So these will be in decimals or percents. 52509. And P's in our middle. Okay? So remember, some instructors will like you to show this as a probability statement. However, I just require that you show it as an interval, such as this. Okay, now how do we interpret that? Very similar to what we had done before. We say we are 99% confident that the population, now this time we're not going to say mean, right? Because we're dealing with population proportion. The population proportion, we go back to part A in our book, and it says of all Colorado physicians who provide some charity care is between 0.52509 and 0.5582. Now these do not have units attached with them because they are proportions.